Hello, my name is Louisa Ha. I'm very happy to join this panel on media management and marketing programming research. And my title to presentation today is The Changing Audiences. Well, in this panel, I would like to talk about several issues in how audience has been changed. First is how the development of media technology transformed audience behavior and the relationship between media production and media consumption. The different approaches that methodologies that audience research have used to study audiences, and also we examine the different conceptualizations of audience over time and the implications. Finally, I will discuss the 5 factors in media technologies that have turned audiences to multi-platform audiences, social audiences, big data audiences, binge watchers, personalized audiences, and ubiquitous audiences. The first big question is, did the advance in media technologies cause audiences to change? Or did audiences demand a change and the media and technology industry simply respond to those demands? So the first question would be a technology determinism question. That means technology determines people's behavior. The second question is more fundamental, is actually the audience really change based on other factors, not technology. So actually audience have multiple identities and roles. Well, in the past research, we talk about audience is more like a single identity where they are the citizen, as in politics and government. They are consumer, as in advertising and marketing. They are the public, as in public opinion, or spectator as a live audience, or a fan as deeply engaged and fantasize with the content, as a sharer of content, as a participant of media content, as a user of media content, as a reader of a book, listener of a music, a viewer of TV programs, a server of the internet, or a player of video games. These are all single identity. However, recently now, they are more talking about actually audience have multiple identities, not just one. In multiple ways that we do both produce and consume content. So this kind of identities, hybrid identities, include producers or consumers of the same kind of conceptualization of multiple identities. Well, from a historical point of view, there are many approaches to audience research. The first fundamental difference is between live and media audiences. In general, in BEA, for example, we are more focused on the mediated audiences, those who watch TV programs, listen to music, or watching movies. How do they react to those content? But live audience is another matter that probably is based on thematic research on performance or theater. Though probably more interest in those research and which we are not interested in. So typically we are focusing on mediated audience. And there are 2 major approaches we do this kind of research. One is the social scientific approach and one is the cultural studies approach. For the social scientific approach, in general, there are 2 main camps. One is more an active audience approach and one the passive audience approach. Active audience, of course, assume that audience have choices, make choices, use different ways. They have selective exposure. They have user gratifications in choosing media and content. So basically, people are in control. But passive audience, on the other hand, think about audience is passive and being influenced by the media content, being influenced by others, and they just are very receptive to the content and will follow and be influenced and persuaded by what the media says. So these 2 camps, of course, keep on continuing the research. But in another form, especially in the market, the industry, prediction for audience size and the type of audience is more interesting to the industry as a way to learn about media audiences. Cultural studies approach instead focus on media content as culture, and audiences have different interpretations of messages based on the social economic status, the infrastructure of the society, and so on. So Stuart Hall's encoding and decoding theory is one of those exemplary examples in looking at how messages can be interpreted based on the background of the individuals. And there's another type of cultural studies research is about the theory of resistance incorporation, whether we actually are influenced by the content or actually resist the influence of the content. And nowadays, we more focus on audience participation and engagement because we want to keep the audience. So one thing that we have to talk about engagement is whether we are talking about medium or content engagement. A lot of times people are kind of confused by the two. For example, media content audience, one of the things is that there are different levels of content management, engagement. First is the consumption time. The basic level is whether people are exposed and consume the content. But there's a higher level. When they are very interested in the content, they would not only just watch it in one medium like TV, they will watch a diversity of platforms to consume the same content. Like if they like sports fan, they will watch the TV show, the game. They will also social media to tweet or watch Facebook, share content on Facebook. They will also maybe consume the app of ESPN. They will also email and text to other people about the content. So there's a diversity of platforms that people use if they love the content. So instead of one platform, the more platform they use, the more likely they engage with the content. The third level is the sharing of the content. It's not just that they consume the content, but they also want other people to consume as well. By sharing of the content, media audience participation is almost as a higher level that we all want audience to be engaged and be willing to disseminate the information and endorse it to other people. Finally, the highest level of engagement is actually participating in the process of production and influencing the content of the media by maybe contributing their own content or maybe trying to write letters or somehow contact the media producer to try to influence the content. So this is the highest form of engagement, that they want to be part of the process. So what do media organizations want from the audience? Do they want a subscription or purchase? Or their eyeballs for the advertisers? Or their mind, to influence their mind? I think most media organizations want all three, not two or three, one. Because a media organization is powerful, it's not just that they can get money from the consumers, but their power to influence them as a social entity, as an agent of the society. So media organizations would try to influence and try to engage the audience as much as possible so that they could achieve these three goals to get what they want from the audience. So there are 5 media technology factors that I'm going to discuss that's going to change our conception of audience. One is multi-platform and multimodal synergy. Second is customization. Third is traceability. Fourth is automation. And lastly is the increased accessibility of media content. So based on these, there are 6 different types of conception of audience. The first, I would want to call them multi-platform and transmedia audience. The second one is second screen and social audience. And the personalized audience, the binge watchers, the on-demand audience, and the big data audience. How do we define a multi-platform and transmedia audience? These audience typically has a converged media device, such as a smartphone, so that enable them to use different platforms easily. And it's hard to recognize the original source for the audience when you have a multi-platform situation. Because the audience move from one platform to another seamlessly via smartphone. They can get the news from a news app, for example, and then they should share it on social media, and they get it from text messages, and they read the content on the website. So if you ask people where did they get from, actually they have a hard time in telling you where they get from. Somewhere from the phone. I don't know where is the source. An audience play multiple roles in this process as the consumers of the content, as the producer of the content, or disseminators of the content by sharing to others. And the multimodality in this type of different content or intertextuality that look between the different type of platforms will create a synergy among the platforms. So someone, if they watch the news from a video on YouTube, and then they also saw something similar on a news website in text, and then also someone that shared from social media with their own comment and endorsement. This is all a combined experience that create a strong effect on the audience, either emotionally or connectively. The second type of audience I would like to discuss is the second screen and social audience. The social audience is created and made available by the second screen, because when an individual uses one device while simultaneously consume the content from another device, such as, well, simultaneously using TV and smartphone when they are watching TV, then they are engaging in the second screen process. And this is one type of multitasking behavior. Second screening links viewers of the same program socially in real time. Unlike the past, the mass audience, they don't know each other. They do know each other now because they're all online on the same social media platform or Facebook group or something. It amplifies the social role of the media. Audiences use it to link up with the like-minded friends and share the joy or frustration of the media consumption experience. And the response is immediate as well as they're recorded. So the second screen actually can serve as a digital memory, as well as for people who cherish those specific moments as an index of popularity of the show. The third type of conception is the personalized audience. Recommendation systems are one of the major forms of personalization based on previous usage record of the user. YouTube's algorithm creates the recommended list automatically based on the past viewing history of the individual and select the most viewed videos similar to past videos. YouTube also have an autoplay feature that may play a similar video after finishing a video. So it's another way that you can get a personalized content given to you without any effort for yourselves. So by watching these kind of very customized content to you, so you are able to keep on watching something you like all the time and enjoy it. The binge watchers. Binge watching is an intensive consumption of TV series by watching multiple episodes consecutively. Netflix even coined a term binge racer to describe a viewer who aims to finish a full season of a show within 24 hours of its release. Binge watching is an ad-free and addictive experience. For those people who like binge watching, they know what I mean. You just keep on watching the show, and just like you don't need food, you don't need anything, you're just watching it. So how does this intensive exposure to a TV series and movies affect the perception of the quality of the show? And how do parasocial relationships with the characters change in this kind of binge watching situation? Perhaps in associated merchandise like product placement and other promotion, including in the series, how would it be influencing people using a binge watching experience? Need to be more studied. The on-demand audiences. Well, we know that right now, everything online, if they're online, then theoretically they're on demand. That's the basic expectation. Audiences have no concept of schedule anymore, as they expect constant content availability to them anytime they want. They have no idea of license period and expect permanent presence of the content at the internet anytime that they want to watch it. But in fact, it was not. As we know in the media industry, it always based on license. There's always duration copyright period, and so on and so forth. So as a producer or as a video service provider, it creates the pressure for the streaming services to produce their own original shows. So they don't need to worry about the expiration of license period using others' content. So that's why you see Netflix and all these other companies are trying to produce and send service their own content rather than other people's content more and more because of this worry. Finally, the big data audience and ubiquitous audience. Big data is audience research means they are non-intrusive measures of audience behavior by automatically tracking the digital footprint and the amount of time they spend on each media outlet. With the subscriber identification, the amount can be linked to individual IP address and other demographic data on file for the media outlet. So it's very valuable. And actually, right now, there's a very high disparity between different media companies in terms of what big data they own. For example, the big data giants, I would call them Amazon, Apple, Google, Netflix. They have large quantity of viewership data among data because their subscription, they can trace who they are. So basically, they are very, very powerful in terms of how they can provide the data together, combine all the data together for marketing or other purposes. However, I would like to warn that there's a big limitations of digital data footprint and the biases that we have to remember as a researcher. Because all these data are behavioral data. So we don't measure people's attitude. We don't measure people's knowledge or connection. So we just only know what they have done. And also it would be contaminated by other issues like multiple users on the same account and so on and so forth. Those are the things that we need to be very careful when we try to deduce conclusions based on big data. So what are some of the implications of all these? Media managers have to make good use of their platform portfolio, especially the multi-platform delivery environment, and understand better and how and why audiences use each platform in order to designate the complementary content for each platform. Audiences have to be educated the need to have advertising to continue free service, or they should directly pay for content through subscription or pay per use to create a healthy ecosystem that, well, if you like advertise, if you don't want to pay, there are other forms that you can do it by specific advertising, just like what YouTube did. Or you can do some ad-free options and choose like premium options like Google Hulu Plus or something. Then you can enjoy things without advertising. So either way, I think that is a good model that people are now trying to adjust to. Either they want to be a free audience but serving the advertisers, or they want to just enjoy what they want but paying for a higher price directly. Media managers should also disclose what the data they have collected from the audience, because right now it's still a black box. Maybe people don't know what they're doing, and they're very cautious of not trying to not give you the data because they don't know how the data will be used. And it should increase the audience confidence in the media services when we collect data. I think that most of us are not trying to use the data maliciously. But how can we create trust on the audience to make sure that we will have a complete data set if we want to really analyze the big data without violating any privacy or some other issues that the audience should preserve their privacy. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to contact me. At louisah@bgsu.edu. And this is also a book chapter that is going to appear in the Handbook on Media Management and Business. And you're welcome to follow me on Twitter at louisah_jmcq. Thank you.